Hey guys, I'm Ashley and today I'm going to be doing another Top 5 Wednesday video. Top 5 Wednesday is a group on Goodreads that is hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and I'll leave a link to the Goodreads group as well as Sam's channel in the description box below. Today's topic is my top 5 favorite sci-fi and fantasy books, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because they all are big novels, so I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. And I should note that this is a topic in relation to the BookTube SFF Awards, which Sam is a part of, and so I'll also leave a link to her video that describes the announcement for the BookTube SFF Awards as well. So number 5 is the Black Jewels trilogy by Anne Bishop, and actually this is a full series of, I think, about 7 books altogether. I've only read the first 4, so I haven't even finished it, but it's so amazing. I don't want to tell you too much about it because I went into it literally knowing nothing about it, except that a lot of people recommended it and liked it, so I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but it is a really dark, epic fantasy series about witches and being power hungry, and these witches are called the Blood, and all witches are female, and the general populace refers to witches as the Blood. And it involves this little girl who's a witch. It's told from different points of view from 3 guys, and not all of them are the good guys, but they all know about this young girl who is one of the Blood, and it's an interesting story because you have to figure out in the beginning who, like, the bad guy is. It's really dark. It is really about a lot of, like, political things and power struggles and people being violent towards one another, but it is amazing. I like the female-driven aspects of it. It has a lot of female empowerment, even though a lot of times bad things happen to females. It still is really, like, female focused, but it is just amazing. I really, really, really highly recommend this. I blew through every single one of these books. I think it is outstanding and one of a kind. Number 4 is American Gods by Neil Gaiman, and it was really hard for me to pick which Neil Gaiman book to put on here, but I ultimately went with this one because it is just so freaking epic and fantastic. It's about this guy named Shadow who comes back from being in jail or in prison, and his wife is dead, who he, you know, obviously adores and just devotes himself to, and when he comes back he finds her dead. Basically he finds out that he has, like, these connections and these powers he didn't even know about, and so he's guided by a couple of different mythological figures and learns about some mythological figures who are trying to claim America, basically, and he unknowingly sort of gets himself involved in this power struggle, and it is just a really well written book that I just think is a masterpiece, honestly. It has so many different elements, like I said, involved in it, and I cannot recommend this book highly enough. I didn't even know that this book had any, like, fantasy elements involved in it. I thought it was just like a regular adult fiction story because that's how it was shelved in the bookstore I was working at, and then I picked it up and I was like, oh, there's a lot of, like, mystery and intrigue and fantasy involved in this, so that was a really cool surprise. I super highly recommend this, obviously. Number 3 is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is a story about this guy named Darrow who starts off as a Red. He lives on Mars. We've colonized Mars, and the whole human population is classified by color based on their job description and their level in society. So the lowest you can be is a Red, and that's like Darrow is, and he's a miner. And the highest you can be is a Gold, and those are like the policymakers, the political people, all those sorts of figureheads. And it's freaking phenomenal. I love the way Pierce Brown writes. He doesn't tell you the whole story while you're reading it, so a lot of things come as a shock and surprise, and that was really cool, and I think it's a really original book. It's really clear that Pierce Brown is pretty intelligent, honestly. I think he really just did a lot of research and knows a lot about literature and how to write literature very well, so I was very impressed by this, and I'm surprised, honestly, that this didn't make it to number 2 or 1, but I was making this list and I just had to put it at number 3 because the other 2 are just so amazing, but that does not diminish how much I recommend this book. I think it's just absolutely phenomenal, as I feel about all the other books on this list. Number 2 is The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, and this is kind of like a mixture of science fiction and fantasy and dystopian, honestly. And it's about this girl, Lauren, who lives in a futuristic America that is environmentally impacted, and basically she has to trek across America to try and find a safe place to live. And it's in this future of America where the leadership has really become, like I said, a dictatorship, and has tried to enforce really unfortunate laws on the people, and everybody is just not doing well in the country. And so she's just trying to survive and make it across California and across the whole country. And it's a really important book. It's a really interesting interweaving of cultural significance and like posing questions about society, as well as all of these like dystopian sort of fantasy elements, because Lauren is not like your average girl. There's a little more to her than meets the eye. So there's just a lot of things going on in this book that seem like they could be really disjointed and really not fit together very well. But Octavia Butler is outstanding at putting all of these elements together and making a story that's both fantastical and well written and says something important. So it does all of those things successfully, and that is a huge feat in my opinion. And anything, honestly, by Octavia Butler could have gone on this list. I just went with this one because I think that it is important for right now, for our current time, especially in America, because a lot of the things that are happening in America in this book are kind of almost maybe hinted at happening right now, so that shows how like ahead of its time this book was. And I've talked about this book before in a previous video where I said the same thing, and I just want to keep recommending it because I just think it's really great and really important, and I know more people are reading it now that we're kind of in the state we're in, but I just want to get the word out as much as possible, honestly, despite people already reading it. So again, highly recommend this book. It's one of my favorites of all time, and it's just so well done. And number one on my list is probably going to be number one for a lot of people on their lists, and it is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm incredibly grateful for this book. If I had to make a list of books that I'm thankful for, this would probably be in like the top 3 of books that I'm thankful for. This just really took me away and really encompassed my entire life for many, many years. I was really involved in Lord of the Rings. I learned Elvish. I was really interested in all the backstories of all the characters and the history of Middle-earth. I was so involved in that when I was a teenager, and I just love it. It is such a very special place in my heart, and it paved the way for a lot of fantasy that you read now, like, you know, the Shannara series, and I think C.S. Lewis was writing his Narnia series at about the same time that J.R.R. Tolkien was, but I know they influenced each other very heavily and they were very good friends. It just, like I said, paved the way for a lot of fantasy you read now, and you can see bits of it, I think, in fantasy since this series came out, and it's just amazing that he was able to invent so many of his own languages and create this whole universe that is not our own, but also still has its own history. And that's just like, what an amazing brain this guy had to be able to create this. Like I said, I just feel like I owe a lot to this book. It came to me at a really important time, and just I was obsessed. I was just absolutely obsessed, and I think I always will be low-key obsessed with Lord of the Rings, honestly, both the book and the movies, because I really like the Lord of the Rings movies. And that's it. Those are my top 5 favorite sci-fi and fantasy books. You guys should let me know in the comments down below what one of your favorite sci-fi fantasy books are, and I'd love to get talking about some of those if you want to give me some recommendations, and feel free to subscribe if you like this video and want to see more from me. Until next time, happy reading!